Tonight, the protests continue in New York and around the nation following the grand jury's decision not to indict an NYPD officer accused of choking Eric Garner to death. Protesters, police, and politicians all speaking out. You'll hear from them in the next hour. Among them, Congressman Charlie Rangel. He speaks exclusively to RFL's Dominic Carter about the jury's decision, racism in America, and choice words for Staten Island District Attorney Dan Donovan. And also tonight, people are gathering to remember Akai Gurley, who was gunned down by an NYPD officer just before Thanksgiving. Police say the shooting was accidental. Now a grand jury is set to investigate. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman. Richard French has the night off. We will get to the very latest following the grand jury's decision in that case on Eric Garner in just a moment, but we're going to begin tonight in Brooklyn, where DA Ken Thompson says he will take the case of Akai Gurley to a grand jury. The 28-year-old unarmed Gurley was accidentally shot and killed by an NYPD officer in the stairwell of a Brooklyn housing complex. Tonight, family and friends are gathering for Gurley's funeral services. That service at the Brown Memorial Baptist Church in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and that is where we are joined live tonight by our own Dominic Carter. Dominic, what's the scene in Brooklyn?
Well, Andrew, as of this very moment, this is an ongoing situation as this funeral is set to begin a little later tonight. I'm going to step out of the shot, and you can see here the coffin has actually pulled up just seconds ago, literally just seconds ago. And now I'm going to come back into the frame as we are joined live by the pastor of this church, Pastor Clinton Miller. Now, Pastor, you are presiding tonight. Describe what is happening, what's going to happen tonight.
Tonight is a wake for Akai Gurley. There will be no eulogy tonight. There will be speakers, there will be some elected officials, some other pastors from around the city. Some that fight for social justice will make brief remarks.
But not Reverend Sharpton?
We're not sure. He may or may not come. If he comes, we'll defer to him a few minutes to bring his condolences to the family. Tomorrow morning is the funeral service proper, beginning at 11 a.m. And there will be a eulogist. Kevin Powell is a community activist. He has been chosen by the family to be the eulogist tomorrow morning.
Now, Pastor Miller, you are not new to this community. You are a tremendous leader in this community. And so with that said, what is your reaction tonight to the fact that the District Attorney, Ken Thompson, announced today that he is going to take this case indeed to a grand jury?
I think considering everything that we've seen, especially in light of the grand jury in Staten Island not rendering an indictment in Staten Island, I think it's a good move. I think it's a proactive move for Mr. Thompson to empower a grand jury to see what actually happened with Akai Gurley and those two police officers in the pink houses.
Pastor, you know it's Page One News today, and I know you don't have the details, but allegedly, reportedly, the officer that fired this fatal shot, apparently accidentally, in the staircase, the NYPD could not contact him for some 6 minutes, this rookie officer, because he was apparently texting his union rep. Your reaction to that?
Mm-hmm. If that is true, that's another reason why the Brooklyn DA should empower a grand jury to investigate the issue, to investigate the entire incident, because if that is true, that would suggest some negligence. That would suggest a practice that we've seen traditionally, that New York City police officers who have done things that have been wrong, procedurally wrong, how they first talk to the union before anybody else. So if that is the case, I believe in the integrity of Mr. Thompson, the Brooklyn DA, that he would do the right thing in fully investigating the matter.
Okay, well, Pastor Miller, we thank you very much for joining us live tonight. We know that you're about to preside over this service as the casket is literally about to be pulled out right now, but it starts at about 7:30 tonight, correct?
About 7 o'clock.
About 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Miller, we thank you very much for joining us, and it's a somber mood here as we literally look out and you can see the coffin. This this is as real as real gets.
Yes.
Thank you, Pastor Miller. Thank you. And so, Andrew, again, that is the scene as we speak as of right now. Here in Brooklyn, there are no protests or anything like that. Folks are calmly online already here in the rain, waiting to get inside. We can see police cars all around the area, the NYPD trying to work with the community on this night of a funeral. Reporting from Brooklyn, I'm Dominic Carter. Andrew, let's go back to you.
All right, Dominic, and we'll hear from you again in just a few minutes. Thanks very much, Dominic. Now to the fallout from the Eric Garner decision from the grand jury this week. Tonight, protesters gathering from coast to coast speaking out against that decision not to indict Officer Daniel Pantaleo in the apparent chokehold death of 43-year-old Eric Garner. And they're marching also against other perceived injustices. Last night, New York City streets were filled with demonstrators. The NYPD says it arrested more than 200 people on day 2 of the protests.
Those arrests include disorderly conduct, but some assaults on police officers. I believe my officers showed remarkable restraint in the face of, in many instances, a lot of provocation.
And today, protesters once again flooded Union Square in Manhattan.
There were 2 different incidences within about a week span where police officers were not indicted for the murder of, young black males, and no one in our school was talking about it, when our demographic of the people in our schools are the people that are being killed.
This afternoon, the protests reached the suburbs. A so-called die-in was held in White Plains as people laid on the ground, symbolizing the 6 minutes that Eric Garner remained on the ground as officers surrounded his body.
It's awful, and 7 minutes is such a long time. And I was thinking about how he wasn't breathing sometime, during that period. And to be left and not revived, it's a much more moving experience than I expected.
And we are keeping our eyes open across the region to see if there are any protests that spark up tonight. If there are, we will bring them to you live. We're going to take a quick break. Up next, we'll hear from protesters who are taking to the streets of New York, why they say they're committed to walking and chanting for change. We'll also bring in our panel for insight and analysis. Stay with us.